Chair, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here this afternoon. I wanted to ask some specific questions that may be a little off from specifically what we're talking about. But I live in a district, the United States Virgin Islands, which, for all intents and purposes, by the Postal Service as well as some of the testifiers, is treated as an international postal zone. And I wanted to ask questions specific to that. Mr. Taub, one of the things that, and am I pronouncing your name correctly, sir?
It's Taub. But
Taub. Okay. Mr. Taub, I wanted to ask you with regard to Postal Regulatory Commission, if in fact the Virgin Islands is considered international.
The Virgin Islands is part of the United States, and in terms of the service standards that we're looking at, the Postal Service sets those, and they're supposed to be covering all of the United States itself.
Right. So can you tell me why in the last 5 years residents of the Virgin Islands have been required to fill out customs forms when they send packages from the U.S. Virgin Islands to the United States, to the mainland?
I cannot answer that. Again, we're the regulator, not the operator. Those are operational details that I would suggest the Postal Service itself.
Is anyone able from the Postal Service testifying today be able to tell me why that's been imposed on the people who are U.S. citizens to fill out these forms every time they try and send a package to a relative that is in the mainland?
Representative Plaskett, the completion of customs forms is directed by Customs and Border Protection. Obviously, the Postal Service would not create an undue burden for your constituents, and that would be something best answered.
So we would need to speak with Customs why they're making us at the U.S. Postal Service fill out customs forms.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't have any control over what happens within the post office.
The Postal Service has no authority over Customs and Border Protection and the processing and the requirement of customs forms.
Okay, so I'll direct my questions to them. The other thing I found interesting in reading the testimony of the people here testifying, Ms. Sparks particularly, as well as Mr. Messina from the private sector, is the discussion about the disparities in competition that's given to businesses outside of the United States and competing with U.S. businesses from the rates that are offered. Ms. Sparks, can you tell me why a package coming from the Virgin Islands is treated as international in terms of the rates that they have to pay, whereas individuals sending the same size package with FedEx from the mainland pays domestic prices?
I'm afraid I can't. I think what you're asking me is why does the Postal Service charge?
No, this is from FedEx.
From FedEx. Well, I would assume, I'm going to have to get back to you on that.
Would you? That's very important to us, that if I'm sending the same package from the States, I get to pay a domestic rate. But when I pay it from the Virgin Islands, the same size package, I'm charged international.
I'll be glad to check in and get back to you.
Okay, and Mr. Messina as well. When Amazon.com, you know, we know that letters are becoming decreasing. You've talked about that. And at the same time, there's been an explosion in terms of e-commerce and the amount of e-commerce activity. We have many small businesses in the territory that are trying to utilize the e-commerce to be able to not just have their goods on Amazon or things of that nature, but also to ship in other things. And our consumers as well love using Amazon. Is there a reason why in the U.S. Virgin Islands we are not allowed to have certain things from Amazon? Why certain electronics or certain other things are not treated the same? And why the rates that we have for our shipping are very different than anywhere else, even from our neighbor in Puerto Rico?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Plaskett. The question about varying rates is what has been discussed today. And so we as a company and we, our sellers that I'm here talking about, are facing this disparate system that doesn't make any sense. So we're sort of victims of it as well. As to the reason why certain goods can't be shipped to certain places, those are restrictions placed upon us as a business usually by the manufacturers of certain products. You just can't sell some things into some places. These geographical restrictions exist separate and apart from us. I mean, we want to provide as much convenience and selection as we can to our customers worldwide, including in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
And the shipping rates, is that also restricted by those manufacturers? Is that your rates that
No,
you put in there?
neither. They're the rates of the shippers.
Of the shippers
Correct.
that you've partnered with, correct?
That's correct. We pay a variety of shippers, including 2 at this table and others, to ship things for us worldwide. And we are the
Which are the 2 at the table? You're talking about
Postal
Federal
Service and
Express and the
FedEx.
Postal Service?
Yes,
Okay.
not the Inspector General.
Oh, I would hope not. I don't know if he has the capacity for that at this time, but you never know. Okay. Well, thank you very much for this. Thank you for the indulgence of, I'll take a little bit of Mr. Clay's time. I know that he went under what he's supposed to.
It's kind of like